Hi everybody, I'm Steve Scott, and thanks for watching my video here. The subject today will be teach like an artist. Sounds kind of silly, but let's think about that. Teaching and coaching is an art, and the reason it's an art is because we're doing it with human beings. We're doing it with other people. Now, teaching is also a science. There's a pedagogy of teaching. There's a method, a methodology. These are based on sound scientific principles of cause and effect, empirical evidence, and all the other things that make science science. But because we apply that science to human beings, and we have to apply it in different ways, and we have to sometimes be creative when we do it, and always be creative when we do it, I think, not just sometimes, but always. That means teaching, it really is an art. Coaching is an art. And make no mistake, coaching is teaching. Okay, you just don't show up and have them practice and then go home. You interact with them, you teach them. And there are a lot of things that coaches should teach. Okay, now, I'm a firm believer, having coached for many, many years, that my job doesn't just end in teaching someone skills. Okay, I feel as a coach, I believe as a coach in my heart, that I did not do my job if a student of mine learned very good skills from me, but that's all they learned. They didn't learn good lessons of life. They didn't learn sportsmanship, ethics, virtue. I know it's not politically correct to say it, but virtue is important, especially in these very troubled days we live in. So, sport, martial arts, whatever the subject is, whatever the sporting context it is. In our case, it's martial arts, grappling, judo, jiu-jitsu, sambo, submission grappling, that type of thing. A coach should also teach good ethics. Sportsmanship is basically morality in sport, and that's what it is. So as a coach, it's a duty of mine to teach that along with the skills. So that's where it's an art. That's where it's an art. And we fall back on our science to artfully teach those skills, okay, to the proven methods of how to teach. So let's cover some of the things that help you teach like an artist or coach like an artist. Let's cover some things. And by the way, I am referring to my book, Coaching on the Mat. And I am at page 78 where I'm starting here. So if you are following along with me on my book, Coaching on the Mat, and I hope you are, because it will be helpful to you. Let's look at some things. I want to do some reading here. Please bear with me when I do this, but it does help, I think, make my point here. Fundamentals are the most important thing to teach. Okay, now we've talked about this before in my other videos, and if you've ever done a seminar with me or coached or trained with me personally, you know I'm a firm believer in fundamentals, because I like to say that, and it's a true statement, that elite level skill, world-class skill, these skills are nothing more. They're simply, let's put it that way, they're simply fundamentals done to their full potential. So elite level skill is really fundamentals done to this full potential, to their full potential, these fundamentals. So without good fundamentals, no one can ever go on to more advanced skills. I've had very, shall we say, misguided coaches tell me that fundamentals are just totally unnecessary, and they should be able to jump in and start somebody where they want them to at any given point. I had almost an argument with a coach one time, telling me, trying to convince me that fundamentals are a waste of time, and that they are boring. Well, yeah, they're boring if you teach them in a boring way. That's why you got to teach like an artist. And my position was what I just stated before, that fundamentals are so essential, you're going to use them no matter what level of fighting you're at, okay? Let's take boxing, okay? One of the greatest fighters of all time, Muhammad Ali, had a pretty basic combination, left jab, straight right, as did Nino Benvenuti, a world middleweight champion, was a great middleweight champion. You name the fighters, it's a fundamental skill, okay? Straight left jab, straight right hand. Bam. It won a lot of fights for them. You take some of the great judo champions. Yamashita, the great Japanese champion who won the Olympic Games in '84 and won I think 9 or 10 All Japan championships and many world titles. He pretty much had an Osotogari. He had other things too, but Osotogari. Now, isn't Osotogari one of the first things you learn when you walk into the gym or the dojo? Sure is. But he had it down to a science, he had an art. He made it work for him all the time. And that's a fundamental throw. So fundamentals are essential. So that's why I get off on this. And I point out in my book, we can't appreciate the writings of Shakespeare without first knowing how to read. Okay? And we can't read without learning basic words. Okay? You got to learn the alphabet before that. So there are things that happen progressively in steps. I've done another video on teaching skills, progressive coaching, teaching skills in a progressive way. Well, here we have it. This is it. Fundamentals. You start with the fundamentals, and they progressively get more tuned in to the function that that person needs them to use. You take that fundamental move and fit it to your athlete like a glove, so he or she can use it with a high ratio of success when he needs to. Okay, that's what fundamentals are, and that's how they go on to be more elite level, world-class skills. Okay. Very few people, very few, have to be an astonishingly amazing athlete will pick up an advanced level or more elite level skill right from the get-go. Okay. I one time had a fella who played some professional basketball, big tall guy, amazing athlete. You know, NBA athletes are amazing guys. And he played at that level for a period of time, just a short period of time. But he started judo with me many years ago, back in the 80s, picked it up immediately. Another student of mine was had a scholarship for ballet. He was a ballet dancer. He started with actually Sandy Harrelson, and he trained with me as well. And this young man was amazing. And he picked judo up very quickly, very quickly. Those are rare cases. Not everybody's like that. But that just shows you people can do it. But did I jump them right from the no, I taught them fundamentals from the get-go, and they were very good at those fundamentals, and they actually made them work better when they went on to more advanced levels of training, you know, and fighting. Let's talk about quality over quantity. Quality over quantity. It's more important for a student to learn a few techniques with exceptional skill than learn a large number of techniques with mediocre or poor skill. Okay, so again, coaching like an artist, teaching like an artist. I want to make sure that every one of those moves, every one of my students is a masterpiece, hopefully a masterpiece, and that student will have the skills he knows or she knows, they're going to be exceptionally good at them. It's much better to have a specific skill set that you do exceedingly well and can call on and use in a variety of situations. That doesn't mean you limit your learning. Don't get me wrong. You want to expand your learning to as much as possible, but that doesn't mean, but by the same token, you don't need to know 500 techniques when actually only a few will do. Of those 500 techniques, how many can that person who's learned 500 techniques, how many can that person do functionally when he or she needs to in a real situation? Not too many of them, really. But if you can draw on a few fundamental skills that you can make work for you in a variety of situations, did you hear that? Few fundamental skills that you can make work for you in a variety of situations. That's more efficient, it's more functional, and you have a higher ratio of success. Again, what we're teaching, we want to teach like an artist, but we also have to be pragmatic. We have to be realistic about this. You know, we got to make it work. It's got to work for our students. Okay, so that's why I have to be very careful as a coach about teaching fundamental skills initially, and then making them fit to my student. But I don't want to teach way too many skills. I have to be pragmatic about it, and the student has to be pragmatic about it and do what works for him or her. And eventually, you keep learning more skills. Don't get me wrong, because at some point in your career or a student's career, what may work now may not work later, or may not work now will work later. So in that case, teach a variety of skills, but also hone it down so they're all functional and they will work. Okay. And I hope I didn't confuse you by throwing all that out there and and maybe I wasn't clear on all that, but I tried to be as clear as I could, in that it's far more important to have quality over quantity. Okay, all right. Repetition, repetition, repetition. You know, what is it? I'm not in the real estate sales, but what do real estate agents say? It's location, location, location. Well, yeah, same with what we do. Repetition, repetition, repetition. But as I say, if correctly done. Okay, and I hearken back to what Neil Adams told me a long time ago. We were having a conversation about this, and he's probably said this to other people as well, but he certainly said it to me at the time. He said, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And that's important to know. You know, it should be a good practice. They should be, the repetition you do, the skills you should work on should be done correctly, fundamentally, skillfully, correctly. Okay? The key to good learning is to perform a correctly done skill repetitively. Okay? So do it right every time. Going back to another, I like to quote coaches, if you've seen my videos before, you know that. Vince Lombardi is a very quotable guy, and was one of the greatest coaches, certainly on the professional level of football of all time. He said, don't do things right once in a while, do them right all the time. I'm paraphrasing it, but that's the point. Do it right and continue to do it right. Okay? Learn to do it right, so that's the only way you know how to do it. And again, another coach, John Wooden, I've read quite a bit about John Wooden and his works too, another great coach in basketball. He said, as a coach, it was his goal that his athletes knew only one way to do it, not one way to do it, but only knew how to do it the right way for them. That was the most efficient way and effective way to do that move for them. And as a coach of grappling and fighting, martial arts, you and I are, we coach fighting. Fundamentally, that's what it is. Judo, Sambo, wrestlers, they're fighting sports, they're combat sports. We want to teach our students so that they do it the correct way all the time. And that's the only way they can really do it. Now, you know, and they can really, by doing that, they'll appreciate when they see the wrong way. Okay, so teach them correctly from the get-go, and then have them practice repetitively through good drill training, constantly, where they practice the right skill all the time. That fits for them, works best for them. Okay. Again, I'm going to read here again. Teach a skill, drill on it, and make sure the group does it correctly, does it right. And again, I harken back to this, I come back to this. It's more important for a student to learn a few techniques with exceptional skill than learn a large number of techniques with mediocre or poor skill. Doesn't matter how many techniques you know, you can only do them one at a time in a specific situation. So teach your student that core skill. We've talked about that before, and then move on from there. So, but repetition, repetition, repetition. This jumps into drill training, which we've done videos on drill training in our series here. So effective drill training, effective structured training is essential for you to reinforce those skills and to teach like an artist. Okay, I can't stress drill training enough. Drill training, every phase of your practice should have some elements of drill training in it, and lots of them, so that they provide structure and balance to your training, and also the efficiency in training. And if the training session is efficient, in other words, well run, done correctly, it's effective.
Drill, guys. I don't care how the bottom man is, Ray. I don't care. You can start like this. You can start on elbows and knees. I don't really care. But if Derek wants them, then that's fine. He's going to snap them down. But now Derek's got to go to work. Here's where we're going to work. This is why we're doing no gi in this. We want to work on hooking and grasping. Don't just grab. We don't want to be reliant too much on the jacket. Even though we make, a lot of us do judo and sambo, we want, don't be too reliant on the jacket. Especially a lot of us do no gi. We want to do this. So pops him down. Now he's going to go to work, be as efficient as he possibly can. It's a real simple drill. Just do a lot of really good head roll jujigatamas. Okay? So he pops him down and he goes to work. Bam. He just starts doing everything correct. Rolls it through, bam, and he goes, finishes up. He'll do about 4 or 5 in a row. And under stress, do it under quick time. We don't want to take our time doing it. We want to do it under some stress. Start to simulate when it really happens in a fight or a match. Okay? So So that's why we're doing it fast, a lot of reps, crawling all over. You see how he's doing everything right. He's making sure efficient movement. He's getting the top. He's catching the posting on his head. This is why we're training. So make sure you're doing all these things. Go over your mind. I gotta do it right. I gotta do it right every time. And Dre would do 4 or 5 in a row. Okay? Let's do at least 2 sets, maybe 3. Very efficient. See how fast that drill was? It should be done that fast. It's a good conditioning drill too. But what we're training on now, this is for the guys who are really good at jiu-jitsu already, and get even better at it. We want to shave all those rough corners, sand them down, to where we can do it very, very efficiently. Again, no gi. I'm not relying on things to hold on to the ground. I'm hooking and doing everything I need to do right.
Don't go off the ranch and do really silly things, but you know, once in a while experiment, try something to see if it works for your athletes or not. Okay, and often it does. Something you might have thought, well, this might be interesting to do. Let's do this tonight. If you, as a coach, always try to make your practice interesting, enjoyable, and effective through hard work. You know, as I said before, hard work can be enjoyable. And you can fool them into working hard, and you know they're having fun. Yeah, and do that, but make your practice interesting. If it's boring, they won't come back, no matter what the age group is. And there has to be content to it. You have to actually teach well. So if you want to teach like an artist, know your subject matter and know it well enough to be able to teach that creatively. So that's on you. You have to really work hard to be a coach, to know your skills and know how to apply those skills and know how to impart those skills to other human beings. So that's why I say, when I say teach like an artist. And well, anyway, that's enough of me rambling on.